The scripture I have been assigned for tonight's short talk is James 1, verses 2 through 3. Let's read that passage now. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. I'd like to share 4 things we can learn from this passage. First of all, we learn about our attitude towards trials. James says in verse 2, count it all joy, my brothers. Most people do not have an attitude of joy towards trials. I will come back to that thought at the end. But most people respond to trials in one of 4 ways. Some people, first of all, retreat. They run away from trials and try to avoid and escape them. Some will do whatever they can to avoid conflict. Secondly, some people respond to trials with resentment. They become resentful and bitter. They are trying to live a good life, yet still must face trials. They think it is unfair. Thirdly, some people must just resign. They quit at the first sign of resistance, like an out-of-shape kid at their first practice. They quit the team before they even finish the tryouts. However, fourthly, the right attitude is an attitude of resolve. We must resolve in our minds and hearts that we are going to endure trials. We will not retreat, will not be resentful, will not just resign. We will resolve to endure. Now let's go back to the James text and see why we resolve. This leads us to our second textual note. We resolve to endure because James teaches us trials are not a matter of if, but when. James says when you meet trials of various kinds, not if. In other words, trials are going to happen some way, somehow, somewhere, to someone. Thirdly, we can learn from the text, trials are a test of your faith. James says that those trials, they are the testing of your faith. The word testing refers to a trial or testing directed towards an end. The end is that the one tested should emerge stronger and purer because of the testing. A young bird may test its wings. The goal of the testing is to prove to the bird it is strong enough to fly. A teacher may test their students. The goal of the test is to prove to the student that the students have mastered the teachings. The Queen of Sheba came to test the wisdom of Solomon. She came to prove that Solomon was as wise as she had heard. When Israel came into the promised land, God did not remove the nations who were already there. He left those nations so Israel could be tested. So, tests are not meant to defeat us. They are meant to be defeated. Tests are not meant to make us weaker. They are meant to make us stronger. This leads us to our 4th point. James says, the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. God's purpose for our tests of faith is to build characters equipped to endure and persevere to the end. The more we overcome trials, the more confidence we have in God's enabling ability in our lives. Now let's go back to our first thought. Why should we count it all joy to face trials? Is it because we know God's end goal through the trials is to purge us and perfect us? We focus on the end result, not the trial. So we face those trials with joy. We are glad to face them because we see them as evidence of God's confidence and work in us. So what is your attitude toward the trials you face in your life? Do you trust what God is doing in you as you face the trials around you? Sometimes we fail, and that's why we offer this moment while we are gathered together to anyone who needs strength and encouragement.